Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Nexus Gaming Series. I am Jayzon, and today it's dangerous to go alone, so I've brought myself a B-Train. Welcome to the stream. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. It was kind of a last minute notice, but I'm glad everything worked out.
Yeah, and I understand that you know some of the guys over at Calculated Throw, so should be an interesting match for you to get to have a ringside seat for as well.
I am ready to be able to flame people for picks later, as we usually play nightly after their practices.
There we go. Alright, so let's quickly go ahead and take a look at these map details for you. I want to thank Weenus for providing this awesome map tool. We did have Calculated Throw banning out the Battlefield of Eternity, Team Rectum banning out the Tomb of Spider Queen, and then map number 1 is going to be Dragonshire. That was picked by Calculated Throw, so we'll have first pick, first ban, going over to the red team for Team Rectum. But we're going to go ahead and let these guys know that we are ready. We'll be getting into this game. Anything in particular you're looking forward to in this matchup?
I think personally for me, I want to see who's supporting for Calculated Throw. I know they've added a couple people to the roster and a lot of support players, so I think a lot of what will happen depends on who they have on that support role.
Yeah, brand new season, so this is the time when you expect people to move around. And B-Train, by the way, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. But
Absolutely.
we're gonna get to see what these guys have in store for us, because you know this is the time in the season when anything's possible. You know, you're ready to throw everything against the wall, figure out what sticks, and hope to get your season started out right. So we're gonna go into the first draft here for Dragonshire. First pick, first ban, going to Team Rectum. What do you expect to see in this first ban phase here?
So, if any scouting was done, I could easily see a ban on either Whitemane or Orphea, as I know there are players for Calculated Throw that are really good with those heroes. As far as a tank choke, I don't really see much outside of, say, the usual Diablo.
Yeah, Diablo's definitely been on the ban list quite a lot. In fact, that was in today's patch that they added a second to each of Garrosh's, or each of Diablo's main abilities for his combo, the Shadow Charge and the Overpower. So we'll have to see if that deters teams at all. Another hero that we saw get some significant nerfs today was Azmodan in that balance patch. Do you think these guys are going to be looking very closely at these, or do you think it's going to be more the status quo, as it's only the first day and there's probably not a whole lot of testing going on just yet?
Without a lot of testing, I think the bans will be based on what they know from the heroes. I don't think they have enough info to change it up, but a Nubarak coming out as a first ban for Calculated Throw is nice. Mal'Ganis was another one of the top banned heroes that got some nerfs as well.
Yeah, Anubarak's been quite a terror in the Nexus recently. He's been very difficult to deal with for a lot of teams. And he counters so many different strong heroes in the meta right now. No surprise to see him banned out. And just in general, I feel like there's been a focus for a lot of teams at all levels of the game on the tank bans.
Yeah, tanks control a lot of like the rhythm of the game, and on maps with like a lot of rotations, Anu being a very mobile tank, that could be kind of the point behind the ban here. But another thing Anu bans is another hero in today's patch, which is Cho'Gall. And Anub is great against him.
DeWitt Hots, thank you very much for the follow, my friend. Welcome to the stream. And yeah, we are going to see Dahaka banned out here. Very strong rotational map here on Dragonshire. No surprise to see both Brightwing and Dahaka banned out as two of the prominent globals in the game right now. And it only leaves Falstad, who's really fallen off quite a lot in the meta. Don't necessarily expect to see him here. But the Joe's going to be the first pick, so Team Rectum wanting to go ahead and corner their market on the tank pool here.
I love the Johanna pick. She has lots of wave clear. She's stout. She can, take things like a Garrosh throw or a swap and just pop Iron Skin. And she's got a large enough health pool and interrupts to where she can defend that mid lane quite a long time if the enemy gets both points.
I like this pick coming out from Calculated Throw. You talked about wave clear. Doesn't get much better than the Mage Kael'thas here in this game. And Diablo is going to be the pickup, so Calculated Throw wanting to make sure they get a tank before the third ban phase here so they don't get choked out on it.
Absolutely. And Diablo making it through both bans and then actually making it to the 2-3 or the 1-2 pick for calculated throws. Interesting, because that means that Rektum completely passed up on him and took Johanna purposefully over.
Very interesting pickup here, the Maiev coming out for Team Rektum. And overall, her displacement can be very devastating, and it's a good combination with the Condemn from Johanna. You pull him in, you get the tether, you pull him back further. Stukov also picked up. You could throw a silence into that mix. It would be very difficult to deal with, and a good way to deal with Diablo as well, who does not like to be isolated in this game.
Li Ming ban. It's interesting to me. I look at instantly Ana banned as well. I look at the Maiev, and she makes up a lot of the weakness that Johanna has. Johanna, outside of a Blessed Shield or a Falling Sword, doesn't have any hard engage like Diablo does. And Maiev can make up for that, so I really like that synergy.
I agree. She can definitely help set up an engage, but can't really do it all by herself. And the Rexar coming out for calculated throw, so they might have been paying a little bit of attention to these patch notes. Rexar did get a pretty noticeable baseline buff for both him and Misha. So he's going to be kind of a terror up there in the top lane. Very difficult to take a shrine away. Not so much from Rexar, but mainly from Misha.
So this is ironic, actually. I was speaking with the player who picked Rexar Grievant, if he stays on him. I talked to him all this afternoon. He's an old Rexar main, one of his first mastered heroes, and we talked a long time about those buffs this afternoon. And apparently they think it's something worth trying out, even if they don't have a lot of practice on it.
Well, there you go. So we will see the Falstad picked up. Could be the solo lane. They could also put Thrall up there or mix it around a bit. They will be trying to use that Falstad for the global advantage. And out comes the Sergeant Hammer. So calculated throw, going with a very unorthodox comp, looking to bring out the cheese right out to start the season. I'll have to see how this works out for him.
You're not kidding. The one thing that does scare me about the Sergeant Hammer pick here is there's a lot of tools to deal with her. Stukov can drop those silences right under her, and then you can't pop that E for that unstoppable that you get at level 4. So that'll be interesting to watch how Hammer plays around that.
Yeah, the Johanna and the Maiev do have the ability to maybe force the engage onto the Hammer, but the longer you spend in that range of hers, the more susceptible you are to just being poked down. So the side of Team Rektum is going to have to be very decisive about how they go after this Hammer. If they've got any kind of indecision, any kind of stalling there, they're going to be very, very sorry about it after not too long.
Of course, Hammer has just that umbrella of safety where she can do free damage, and Diablo's one heck of a bouncer. That's a nice bodyguard to have. You're going to have to make Johanna burn that indestructible early on some of the, or not indestructible, excuse me, the Iron Skin early on some of these fights if they want the engage.
All right, so we are loading in here to game number 1. Division C. Thank you very much, by the way, to chat for helping me correct that. I had Heroic up there for a little bit, but I think these guys probably would prefer to stay down in Div D rather than jumping up to Heroic randomly. But we are loading into Dragonshire. Game number 1. On the left, you have calculated throw. We're going to see Team Captain Mystic playing the Sergeant Hammer. Scooterman is going to be on the Diablo. Grievant is going to be playing Rexar. We've got Dalenor on the White Mane, and Scooty Puff Jr. is going to be on the Kael'thas.
Battle commencing in 10
And on the right
seconds.
side, for Team Rektum, we're going to have Old Dookie Tom sitting on the Falstad looking to fly around. Jesus Mafia on the Maiev. Looks like Tanor on the Stukov. Ninerasaur on the Johanna, and Tismel on Thrall.
All right, so it looks like both teams coming to the mid, but Rexar not really wanting to come in and play just yet. So we will have a 4v5 standoff to start this one off in the mid. Any talents at level 1? Giving you any kind of indication of what these guys are going or anything a little out of the ordinary?
So looking straight at the Sergeant Hammer level 1, Maelstrom rounds. It's 90 second on per charge. And you have 3 charges, and it's an activatable where you can increase your damage dealt by 35% for 5 seconds. But hitting structures reduces the cooldown for every auto attack. So it's a permanent, I can just hit this button and do more damage, but she does give up the stealth mode.
Jesus Mafia looking at the Rexar, is going to get in there and manages to pull him back. Can they finish him off? Yes, they can. And right away, first blood going over to the side of Team Rectum, punishing Rexar for stepping out just a little bit too far.
And that's the problem you have with Rexar, is that if you surpass Misha and you get a hold of Rex and he's too far out, he has no mobility and no escapes.
Monoderp, thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome to the stream. And everybody who's following, thank you very much. Meanwhile, Scooty Puff Jr. being caught out once again. Jesus Mafia taking advantage, punishing the positioning here of Calculated Throw. And that's gonna really help them with these early rotations and a little bit of an advantage as they start to try and capture these shrines and look towards that first Dragon Knight.
Absolutely bullying rotations. Johanna's shining the flashlight every time to dismount the members of Calculated Throw, and they missed a little bit of soak from that mid lane while they were taking their camp, so we'll see if that leads to them, you know, in the future being down a talent tier, as right now they're down about half a level.
Maiev once again rotating to the top, just kind of putting the fear of Jesus, if you will, into Grievant up in the top lane. And for right now, it looks like they are going to be able to cap that, but in the bottom lane, Calculated Throw, grabbing back the bottom shrine, and so no Dragon Knight available just yet for either team.
And another thing I didn't think about is that Maiev, Misha is technically another hero, so Maiev can get fan resets off of Misha and then maybe the Diablo if they're both in the front line in later team fights.
Right now, the members of Team Rectum trying to step up to try and put a little bit of pressure on this hammer, but the healing from De Lenore is good to keep them nice and healthy in this bottom lane. They're trying to protect the siege camp a little bit, keep those guys hucking rocks in the lane. Big flame strike coming in from Scooty, and for right now they are brawling over this point as Maiev continues to double soak, but the flame strike will come in and finish off Thrall.
Looking at level 4s, Rexar picking up the Hunter-Gatherer. It's a globe quest that gives you passive armor on Misha and Rexar. So that'll look to help him in this top lane against these two-man ganks that he keeps seeing.
Yeah, it's pretty much a perpetual 2v1.5 up here in the top lane. As Calculated Throw, you know, if nothing else, the Rexar is definitely drawing a lot of the attention away from the bot lane, where we just see Calculated Throw getting a lot of advantage on this front wall.
Poor Misha, getting absolutely bullied.
Yeah, meanwhile, Falstad flying to the bot lane, so right now, Team Rectum wanting to kind of adjust how they approach this. They're going to leave Maiev up in the top lane. We even see the teleport over the wall, going to pressure Rexar back, but Misha is back in town, and now this is going to end up being a little bit of a different matchup.
Johanna also taking Conviction at level 4 to give her the move speed when you're charging up your Condemn, your pull-in. So it helps her with the engage, especially on the hammer against the knockbacks, because it does give her about 25% more on that movement speed.
Half of the front wall now gone in the bot lane for Team Rectum, as again, the Sergeant Hammer just slowly pressuring in. Does have that graduated range now as well, so we'll slowly be able to poke further and further into this lane. And you can see the front wall just taking shot after shot. And that's going to be it for Cannon Tower number 2.
And you can hear when he activates that Maelstrom rounds, it has a special, like, almost like a clinking sound. It just sounds different than normal auto attacks. And they use that to just burn through that wall.
The silence does go down onto Stuka, or onto Sergeant Hammer, I should say. Mystic going to have to back out of here, as finally Team Rectum able to push them back. But in the top lane, Maiev gets taken down by Grievant. And so Rexar are going to continue to hold that top lane and prevent the members of Team Rectum from being able to really capitalize on finally getting control in the bot.
But there is about a half-level difference with Calculated Throw planting their roots in the bot lane. They've missed a lot of mid-soak. So we'll look to see if that has any effect here in the future, as right now they're missing an entire wave.
Falstad does make it up to the top lane in time to go ahead and soak the wave that's coming in from Maiev. dying up in the top lane, but we will see both of these owned by Calculated Throw, so they do have it available. But it looks like, once again, they're just going to try to use this advantage to pressure in the bot lane to try and catch up on XP, and they're not really focusing on a DK at all, as Johanna is going to go down in the bot lane, stepping out a little bit too far.
Yeah, that 4-man rotation down from the hammer really surprised them, as Johanna burned the Iron Skin a little early, and Diablo flipped her in, and the body block said the rest.
Here comes the rotation once again from Jesus Mafia. Does get the tether onto Rexar, pulls him back at the last second. Taste Smell is still up here as well, so they're going to be able to cap the points. But for right now, it looks like Rexar is going to continue poking away at this. Misha standing on the point. Will they be able to cap? They can't get bottom lane back from Calculated Throw.
If Thrall saves that wolf, that's a dead Rexar top lane. As far as ultimates now coming online for both teams, what surprises you most?
Well, let's see. Not much. It looks pretty well. Yeah, it looks pretty standard to me overall. Yeah, Pyroblast is becoming more and more standard these days. Might be some people thinking it's the most, but we do see the Earthquake coming in. They're trying to find an isolation onto Diablo, but he's going to turn around with that Lightning Breath, and the members of Team Rectum are getting completely blown up here. Health bar is so low. Stukov's going to need a little bit of time to heal them up from that, but you're talking about those level 10s. Let's go over those real quick. We've got the BFG coming in from Hammer, along with Lightning Breath. It is going to be the Bestial Wrath coming in for Rexar, along with Pyroblast, and Whitemane going with the Scarlet Aegis.
Thrall was about an inch shy of landing that wolf to get the next stall out on Sergeant Hammer.
Yeah, super low on mana up there too, so not surprised to see the cap, but right away we do see the push in as they're trying to find the stun there. But nice massive shove by Tenor to give him a little bit of room here. It looks like for right now they're just going to be content going after the bottom fort, not really too worried about the team fighting aspect of this right now.
Yep, once you get that fort down, you get that passive XP increase, and if you're playing a hammer comp and you're just going to sit back and poke and slowly push, that's what you want. You want that level advantage.
Fort will fall here for the side of Team Rectum, as they are looking to try and get the counter engage. Jesus Mafia now out way too far. Gonna end up on the wrong side of that team fight.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a misclick, but the blink seemed to go out the wrong way for my Evans. It went away from the gate rather than towards it.
5-2 on the kill count right now for Calculated Throw. Dragon Knight will expire, but they're instantly going to go ahead and look to steal away the siege camp from Team Rectum. We'll have to see if they want to try to engage on this. It's a 4v2 with two members up in the top lane. They do try and get in on the point, but thinking better of it right now is Johanna. Should be able to escape just fine from that fire breath there, but that did bait out a heroic there. Not too bad of an exchange.
I'm interested to see the rest of the Diablo build, as he's gone into that Lightning Breath, and I remember for a while there was a build where you take the Spell Power Stomp at 13, and which he did, exactly, there it is. So Lightning Breath, if you hit a couple of those stomps, you get the reset, and you get the Fire Stomp out, and it hits a couple of heroes. Lightning Breath actually does a very respectable amount of damage. So in a choke point like that, it could get mega value.
Yeah, full Stomp build coming in from Scooter. As we will see yet another rotation here. Revent is in a bad part of town. They're even going to go ahead and pop the Earthquake to secure the kill. But Rexar falling again, and these rotations have just been giving him fits in this top lane.
I don't think the Earthquake was totally necessary. Better safe than sorry sometimes. But if you look at the cooldowns, Earthquake's back in 80 seconds, and Rexar's back in 15. But hashtag worth at the end of the day.
Yeah, typically you'll exchange one heroic for a kill, but I agree, probably not needed in that scenario. But they do get the kill give him a little bit of an advantage here as these shrines start to pop up, but Rexar will be back right around the same time to try and contest that in the top.
Falstad's almost done with that seasoned marksman, and now with Giant Killer coming online at 13, Diablo's going to take a little bit more damage than he's used to at this point in the game.
So shrines do pop, both teams focusing on grabbing their camps. Rotation to the top coming in for Team Rectum. Looks like for right now, Calculated Throws starting to head back towards that bot lane, which has pretty much been their home most of this game. This 4-man has been very difficult to contest down here.
Stukov's almost done with his level 1 as well, which is on that weighted postule, the damage one, that also combines really well with the 13 talent for Virulent Reaction, the rooting talent. And Sergeant Hammer, without the stealth mode or the moving talent at 7, really easy to land those and hit that root. So we'll see how on point Whitemane is with those cleanses.
Meanwhile, massive wave up here in the top. Members of Team Rectum just happy to push this in, giving Rexar even less comfort and safety down here. But meanwhile, the response from Calculated Throw, they're just going to siege up the hammer, and they're just going to start beating down the doors on this bottom keep.
If you wanted to get really spicy there, you could go for the home run play of Falstad just flying straight to that bottom temple, because they're always sitting mid lane, and you could have possibly snuck a Dragon Knight out from under their noses there.
Scooter Man going to go ahead and look to get the engage onto Jesus Mafia, but the pull in response, BFG comes out, and this is going to end up being a 5v3 down here. Members of Calculated Throw wisely going to step back, but now the rotation goes out to the camp, and all of a sudden it's Johanna that's the one isolated. The root comes down, and she's going to be able to make it out, but not with much health.
That's 2 back-to-back great roots from Danilor on that Whitemane. He hit the first one to stop the Joe from body blocking the Diablo, and then that second one there to almost secure the kill after she was trying to retreat. And again, on Thrall.
Oh, and here we go. Huge Pyroblast coming out onto Stukov. That's going to secure that kill. Even gets a little bit of extra damage out there with the clump, but a nice gust for disengage coming out from Udoki Tom.
So Diablo actually a decent amount of damage with that Lightning Breath. I don't think it was fully stacked with the spell power, but it had a little bit to it, and they do have a counter for that, as Maiev has the containment disc, and even though Diablo's unstoppable, a stasis still will put him away. So you can get rid of that Lightning Breath for team fights.
Surprised to actually see Falstad not go in on that. I thought they had Grievant dead to rights there, but instead we'll elect to go back, clean up the front wall here. We'll protect against a little bit of damage, but a little surprised to see them not be more aggressive in that scenario. Meanwhile, Thrall gonna have to back out here as the 4-man rotation comes down to the bot lane.
We do have, as I said with that spell power build, the triple overpower at 16 from the Diablo.
You know, that's a lot of suplexes, man. A little
That's
worried.
a lot.
Now look at this gank setup here in the mid. They're kind of here in the Bermuda Triangle, waiting.
That as well.
They realize they might be down here at the bottom. They're gonna go ahead and check the camp. They're gonna be here in time. The Fire Breath comes out right away, but it is interrupted there by the containment disc. And we'll see a huge knockback. Everybody getting low on the side of Team Rectum, though. They're getting just chunked. Kel'Thas goes down. Falstad goes down. In response, though, we see Maiev, and this bloodbath just going back and forth. Mystic somehow surviving right next to this point the whole time.
That fight was insane. A 4v5, the Kel'Thas living bombs, especially from that Ignite talent combined with the Pyromaniac at 13. I saw Kel'Thas just dropping flame strikes and bombs on everybody.
Oh, but just he ends up going down. However, you're right, that Pyromaniac talent at 13, giving him the lower cooldowns every time those the living bomb did damage. Just constantly lowering the cooldowns, flame strikes going out left and right, and just just insane that Mystic was just sitting there hammering down on people.
And that was a lot of value from Giant Killer and those Maelstrom rounds. As I heard him activate it twice, I just heard the chunking of that sound.
And on a 30-second cooldown, no less. That was a long fight down there. We just see the Dragon out now. They're looking to chunk this core down. The Gust will stall just a little bit, but with all the catapults and the Dragon just beating this thing down, I think this is it. Calculated throw. Wins a huge team fight in the bot, and they're going to take it all the way down to core, and they are going to take game 1 here in this best-of-3 series.
GG. What? That was one heck of a fight, and I want to know what's going through the comms of Team Rectum right now, as they had a 5v4, they had the flank they wanted, they hit the containment disc, but in the end, they lost that team fight.
Well, if that is any indication of this series, can't wait to see the rest of it. A few follows there that we didn't quite get to. Monoderp, Untapped Fear, and Tartur. Thank you very much for the follows, guys. Welcome. Stay tuned. We've got at least one more match coming up here. We'll see if Team Rectum has any answer. But before we go to break, any stats, any talents that stick out to you at all?
So Sergeant Hammer, actually, with 0 deaths in the game, with all the control and the blinds against her, put out 53,000 hero damage. A lot of it was getting mega value in that fight for that camp bot lane, as like you alluded to before, they, with the Hammer poke and the Kel'Thas poke, they never really could force the engage. As you can see, Stukov healed a lot more than Whitemane just out from that poke damage in general.
All right, guys, well, we're going to go ahead and get set up for game number 2. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back getting ready for game number 2 here in Division C, Calculated Throw versus Team Rectum. Let's go ahead and update you guys on the map picks here. Map pick number 2, it is going to be Alterac Pass, picked by Calculated Throw. Team Rectum electing for first pick for the second time here in this series. So we'll have to see if that pays off for them. And talk a little bit about Alterac Pass. You were just telling me that you're not a big fan of this map. Why don't you tell me what you think of it and why?
So I think before the XP changes, it was really decent. But now with catapults spawning, you know, after you knock a fort down or something like that, there's a lot of onus on a team trying to get that first objective because, like, you know, late game you can get one and you're gonna have to push through so much of the map that it could, you know, take you 1 or 2 wins per team fights and objectives. So I think, you know, it could snowball pretty decently. So my main thing is I want to see who wins this first objective.
Yeah, and it actually, when the map first came out, getting that first objective almost meant winning the game. In most, like, it used to be so overpowered. Nowadays, it's definitely a lot less strong, but you know, if you play it right, if your macro is good, you can still take just massive advantage off of that first one. But also, I have seen some counterplay to that as well. I've seen some, you know, some Abathur, some split soak strategies, because this map objective is very stallable. So we'll have to see how these teams want to approach it. There's a new map for the rotations, so maybe somebody's got some strategies we haven't even thought of yet for this map.
So another thing is if you take like a team fight comp, you know, something like Maiev or a hero like that, you know, not a lot of just actual siege damage, consistently, that is. If you win the team fight, you know, you still have to be able to push with your objective. Like, it does great without the assistance of heroes, but if you really want to get value with it, you don't want to take one and then not be able to do anything with it, because that's just a really feels bad, man. So we'll see if they try to incorporate a little bit more wave clear, as, you know, with Thrall, Maiev, and Falstad, you didn't have that much, you know, just pure pushing power.
Right. Yeah, definitely lends itself to having not only quite a lot of wave clear on this map, but yeah, like you alluded to, siege damage, definitely a premium. Globals also can be very helpful on this map. It's another very large map here in Heroes of the Storm, so having that rotational advantage can be nice. Plenty of bushes around these map objectives for Dahaka to be able to brush stock to. So we'll have to see what exactly these teams want to do as we go into draft here for game number 2.
I don't know if either team has a Vikings player, but this is a map that I personally used to run Vikings on all the time, and it's really fun. You know, your team, if they can just stall that objective out, you can gather quite a large XP lead. So it does leave the grounds open to some cheeses in that sense.
Yeah, the other thing we see occasionally on this map is a high priority on poke. You know, might even see another Sergeant Hammer strategy coming out here from Calculated Throw. It would work well here, but, you know, before Chromie's sort of rework / nerf, she was kind of the queen of this place. So we'll have to see. You know, the Asmodan band out, he's another one that's decent, but we'll see what they want to go with.
Yep, Asmodan provides like a lot of the split push value with his use. He can really push lanes, and instantly a Johanna ban.
Yeah, not wanting to see that again is the side of Calculated Throw, so they're going to go ahead and deny that over possibly the Anubarak. They do still have one more ban, though. But yeah, I mean, generally, I think most people just don't want to play against Asmodan right now. We'll have to see how strong his nerfs are in terms of that globe scaling. But once again, high priority on the tank bans. But this time, Team Rectum's going to go ahead and take away the Diablo.
That's interesting. They have first pick as well, so that shows that they really don't value the Diablo over some of the other things. You know, maybe they have some priority damage picks or something like that. So that's interesting.
Yeah, they just don't want the Diablo. Kind of hating on the lords of Diablo in general right now, but we do see the Mal'Ganis banned out. So 3 tanks and Azmodan. And we're going to see the Garrosh picked up. So Team Rectum just kind of trying to put a chokehold to start the game off on those. But it still does leave up a few of the premier tanks. Could still could see a Nubarak or ETC. I'll have to see if they want to pick that right here, though, because there's going to be another chokehold opportunity with this second ban phase for Rectum.
There's the Nubarak. I want to see Jaina. Jaina is a really good counter to Garrosh, and she's just a solid mage overall. She has poke, she has wave clear, she has burst, and she's kind of hard to dive. She has, you know, the ice block, and she just chills enemies. So she has like, you know, her own way to escape by negating movement. So I would love for them to pick that up if it does get through the ban and pick phase here.
I actually like that call, but I like it for Team Rectum right here. They aren't going to go with it, but really good follow-up to the Garrosh as well. It denies the counter to Garrosh, but they are going to go with the Tyrande, so good potential follow-up to that toss and groundbreaker from Garrosh. And then we talked about it earlier, the poke ability. Interesting ban there for calculated throw.
Interesting.
They take out the Jaina, but Junkrat's got the poke.
Junkrat has the poke, and if you look, you know, what does Garrosh and Junkrat provide? That's displacement to the max.
Yeah, that's scary. Definitely right about that. Especially with a white main, you know, who doesn't have a lot of mobility. If she does end up getting isolated in there, you can pretty much count that as a kill. Kael'thas going to be banned out here for Team Rectum, so kind of trying to deny, again, some of what we saw in Game 1. They're saying, hey, let's see what else you have to play.
And with Jaina being banned, I spoke about it earlier, but I think we could see some Chromie shenanigans.
That'd be an incredible shot out of the dark, but I think I like that pick a little bit better, a little more consistent. The Li Ming has a ton of poke. And we'll have to see if Mystic's been playing around with Aether Walker. Now that's not giving anything away. I'm just talking about it in general. I don't know what Mystic plays, but we did see a big change to Aether Walker today. 10% extra damage on to any missiles that are cast after you cast a teleport. And then it still has all the same functionality. So we'll see if he wants to play around with that at all.
I'm sorry, did you ask for poke? Because Zarya, Orphea, Junkrat, and Tyrande screams poke.
Poke order has been completed, but we do see Orphea also. Very, very good follow-up to the Garrosh. Tons of burst damage. Right in close range, and we're going to see a second tank picked up here for calculated throws. They're going to go with the ETC. Good off-lane presence with the ability to stage dive into these objectives so you can get a little extra soaking time out in a side lane, and just in general, a big front line here to really be able to enable the Li Ming and protect the white main.
And Orphea's major weakness is if you can lock her down, she's extremely fragile. I mean, even with a Zarya shield, I'm pretty sure they have more than enough blow up to get through that. So with, you know, a Nubarak and ETC, they have a lot of mobile, valuable CC that they can use to put, you know, the backliners in trouble.
And just in general, you know, calculated throws got to have a big advantage here. Just based off the portrait synergy alone. I mean, not only the Carbot portraits, but they're all going Garrosh. It's quite lovely.
Yeah, it's ironic that they don't play Garrosh more.
In fact,
I mean, but then again,
going against their namesake this game.
Oh yeah, of course. It's, you know, everyone has their. And maybe they know so much about Garrosh that this is some kind of. They know exactly how to counter him. Maybe. So we'll see. We'll see what kind of strategy they have. As you know, Garrosh is going to pose a big threat, and Anoob's going to have to save those burrow charges. As ETC's going to have to save those slides to make sure they can get out of dodge.
All right, well, we are loading into game number 2. On the left, up 1-0 in the series. It is calculated throw. We're going to see Scooterman playing the Anubarak. Mystic going to be on Li Ming. Daelanor going to be once again on the white main. Scooty Puff Jr. on the ETC. And Grievous going to be on the Alarak.
And on the right for Team Rectum, down 1-0, but not out. They great communication in that last game, it seems. They have Nerasor on the Garrosh, Olduki Tom sitting on what looks like Junkrat, Jesus Mafia playing the Orphea, Taysmel on the Zarya, and Tanor pulling Tyrande duty.
Yeah, I agree with your point of view on that, is that that game was by no means a slaughter. You know, that was a very close game one. Came down to a final team fight to really enable the members of Calculated Throw to finish that game off. If that team fight goes the other direction, that's a pretty even game, and then one more team fight after that could have probably been Team Rectum seeing a win. So by no means do I think that this is a said and done series here in game 2.
And along with our order of poke, Zarya going into Demolition's Expert, looking to get increased damage and cooldown reduction on the grenades. So going into that grenade build really early.
So we do approach 1 minute here. We'll have to see if either of these teams want to split off to try and get an early camp. For anybody that's not super familiar with our new map here, Alterac Pass. Two interesting factoids you want to know right off the bat. The bosses are considered incredibly weak on this map, but the mid camps push incredibly hard. Much like the Warhead Junction bruisers, except there are 3 of them for each one of these camps, and we'll see that is indeed where Calculated Throw is going to start their match off here.
Yep, those camps give armor reduction as well, so, you know, even if there's a team fight that kind of erupts around that mid lane with either side having a camp pushing, that's a huge plus to have on your side.
Now the cooldown also very low on these camps as well. You can cap one at about the 1 minute mark, and it'll be up right around time for the next objective if you're fast enough with it, but we will see. For now, they're just looking to prep it. We'll have to see if they do end up capping it once that thing is down.
So what do you think about that Li Ming level 1 talent, taking Astral Presence?
Yeah, one of the things she definitely struggles with in the early game is mana consumption. Especially in these long teamfight objectives. It can be nice to have a little burst, a little bit of extra mana to be able to sustain you through these fights. It's not going to get you enough mana for full combos, but it is going to allow you to continue to poke with the missiles. It'll get you the occasional orb back, and there's just not a lot of... Grievant being caught out here as the 3-man rotation here. But there's not great access to globes during these long map objectives, so I don't hate it.
Good awareness from Garrosh, sitting in that bush the entire time Grievant was fighting with the Orphea, and stayed there until Grievant used the telekinesis, the push from Alarak, because that's his only form of escape. So as soon as he used that, Garrosh just made his way down. And before anything breaks out here, I want to point out that Zarya took the speed ally shield. And this is something that arose a couple months ago, and it's kind of been around ever since. But Zarya can take that speed shield, which gives 50% movement speed, throw it on the Garrosh, and he can come at you way faster than you are prepared for, and get an easy pick with it.
So right now it looks like Zarya and ETC are both going to stay up in the top lane. Multiple members of Team Rectum starting to poke in at this objective, but not really hard committing to it. Both teams prioritizing Soak in the moment, and maybe looking to see if they can find anybody out. We will see the toss in onto Grievant. Is going to get hit with that vulnerability and the stun from Tenor. Stays alive for a remarkably long time there, but does end up falling to this pick comp, but a huge orb in from Mystic. And the members of Team Rectum are going to have to back up or get blown up.
So yeah, that's just a classic case of check your bushes. Garrosh sat in that bush, dead still. He was probably about to get an AFK warning. That's how long he was there. Nobody checked it. There was no stuns, nothing. So it's something that hopefully they can correct coming into the later stages of the game.
A little bit of missed coordination there for Rectum as they don't quite get anybody on the cap, and that's going to allow the members of Calculated Throw to rotate in and interrupt. They do now have all 4 members back. Another massive orb coming in from Mystic. He's dealing a lot of damage. They're just kind of missing the finishing potential right now. But later in the game, as Alarak does get the sadism stacked up a little higher, he will be able to fill that role.
So looking at talents and how these like poke wars will benefit each team, Team Rectum definitely benefits from these long skirmishes way more, as Orphea.
We do see the stun combo as Garrosh gonna have to walk away. Of course, does have all the extra armor there, so no real danger, but the big headline there is a calculated throw, able to squeak in a cap despite the Junkrat poke, and now they're holding this, and that's going to be first map objective going over to calculated throw.
And that's the point I was going to make, is that I think that calculated throw has to force the engage. They have the blow-up comp, they have the more aggression, and they lose the poke war, and the poke war only benefits Team Rectum because 2 of their heroes have very important high-stacking damage quests that involve hitting heroes. With Orphea and Junkrat.
So we are going to see these their generals coming out here into each lane, and we are going to see a prioritization on the bot lane for calculated throw. We see a lot of teams prioritize the mid lane, but the big thing is that they're out soaking all of these lanes while they pressure in the bot, so they're going to get maximum XP. Both teams doing that here.
Yep, kind of a similar thing. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket because, like, on Cursed Hollow, for instance, a map kind of like this where there's a giant pushing objective for the entire map, you can miss XP with the generals pushing in so far because they'll kill waves, and so you really want to have someone in each one soaking.
We see the toss in on Anubarak, but he does have the burrow charge to try and get out here. A lot of damage coming down on him, but he'll be able to make it out. Meanwhile, 4-man rotation to the bot. The front wall goes down in the bot lane. Mid's still looking pretty good. But Scooty Puff Jr.'s been doing good work down here, but we do see the rotation from Junkrat to clean it up. So front walls, but not much else here in this first map objective for calculated throw. What do you think?
Yeah, the first one didn't get crazy value, and they actually are on the backtrack of level 10s. One of the talents I want to point out here is we do have an ETC build, so Crowd Surfer allowing him to go over walls and be that surprise presence or have a little bit extra escape. But going into Pinball Wizard for more damage on the face melt after a power slide instead of the Echo Pedal, which helps ETC's wave clear immensely.
Not only that, but much needed extra damage when they also have the Anubarak on the same team. That's two generally very low damage tanks, so a talent should help out. Meanwhile, speaking of Anubarak, he goes down in the mid lane, shot down by those towers.
So as far as talents on side of calculated throw, everything looks pretty average to me, except for the Disintegrate. Junkrat, if he pops that Riptire, that's his huge damage source in team fights. And sure, Anubarak has Impale or ETC has Power Slide, but typically Junkrat's going to be really far back and out of reach. And if your tanks have to go back there to get them, they might not make it out. So Wave of Force could have been a better choice to interrupt that, but Disintegrate does give them way better poke than they currently had.
Yeah, generally going with you generally would see the Wave of Force also with the Calamity build here for Li Ming, but you did mention the poke. That will definitely help them out, trying to get anybody that's squeaking away at low health, but we'll have to see how it works out for them.
And crushing Jaws from Orphea with Expulsion Zone from Zarya. So Orphea looking for the big setup and the pull in, and Zarya has the Expulsion Zone to count for peel.
I do see a team fight going down here. Riptire is going to come out, is going to finish off the white main. Meanwhile, we do see the web wrap going down onto Tyrande. No healing available for the side of Team Rectum. So they are going to be losing the Junkrat. Alarak going down as well. A bloodbath is on as the resets are coming in for Mystic. And it's going to end up being a 2-for-2 exchange, but Zarya not even in the same area code here, as they are going to be able to half the point and look to get a little bit of charge to start off this map objective.
Yep, 5v4 and they trade 2-for-1. Alarak going down is kind of sad because he could have been stacking up the sadism to this point. I think there's a little bit of miscommunication as 2 people were going north to get the Garrosh, and then Alarak kept going as someone else split off, so it could just be small communications.
We get the Warlord's challenge coming in. It's going to force the members back, and they will be able to block this. 12 seconds left to charge still for calculated throw. all members coming up, but level 13 available right now for Team Rectum.
And interrupting the Riptire was something I talked about, and in that team fight, good props to the ETC Scooty Puff Jr. as when Riptire came out, he power slid straight to the Junkrat to try to interrupt it.
We do see ETC up in the top, trying to get that level 13. Mystic down below, trying to poke out, getting a good angle on it. To be very difficult to avoid. But meanwhile, the toss does come in onto Whitemane. Will pop the ult, but the Crushing Jaws is on point. Starfall coming in, along with the Riptire. Ton of damage coming down onto the members of Calculated Throw. A 1-for-1 exchange, but multiple members getting low on both sides. Scooterman's going to end up falling. And just like that, Team Rectum's going to walk away with a 1-for-5 as they get the Kobe-like bomb over the wall there. Taysmell finishing it off with style.
That fight was all started by Garrosh getting a great initiation, actually coming out of that bush, which went unchecked yet again, but stayed mounted. Anubrak didn't get any sort of dismount, and the Garrosh stayed mounted and ran immediately to the back line, beeline for the Whitemane, and tossed Danilor straight in. And with Riptire not getting interrupted, there was an insane amount of burst coming out, and that pretty much secured that team fight, I feel.
Well, look out for Scooty Puff Jr. here. He is able to zone,
Great
so the
job.
map objective will be stalled 1.4 seconds away from being capped. So we're going to get another fight in on this. 5v5. Level 16, still about half a level away for Team Rectum. I don't think they're going to have time to try and soak to that talent tier. But we'll have to see as the members of Calculated Throw not forcing. They really do need to do it soon if they want to try and get this. They definitely need to get there before 16 comes in.
And they have the better comp for forcing, as they have the Cocoon to turn anything into a 4v5, and they just have great initiation.
Right now they are still looking as Scooty Puff Jr. comes in from the bot. He's looking for the right angle. You can tell he's holding that slide. There it is. He's going to capture 3. We do see the Disintegrate coming down, and it's going to deal a ton of damage to Rhonda. Is going to fall. Resets are now going to be coming in for Mystic, but a huge grabbing claw there. Going to deny some of that damage. Shields coming out. Right now, a 2-for-1 exchange, though. Looking in favor of Calculated Throw, but so many members low. I think everyone's a little bit hesitant to go in.
Great job. I think it was the Alarak silence, but Zarya's ult got interrupted, so she tried to drop that expulsion zone on the engage, which would have caused a split, and the Whitemane ult would have missed. But great job interrupting that so that they could actually secure that team fight.
You do see them coming back in. No 16s available here for Calculated Throw, but they do have a man advantage for the moment. Tyrande is starting to come in, though, and Jesus Mafia getting low is going to be a huge stagger for the members of Calculated Throw, and now they should have the clearance. Owl does sneak through, though, and once again the poke coming in as a factor here for Team Rectum.
Yeah, and you saw the pings coming out on Orphea when they got that first Anubrak stun, calling for, the chain CCs. That's the one weakness we talked about in the early draft stage.
Web Wrap does go down onto Zarya. They are able to isolate Garrosh, but he's surviving with all of this armor for forever. Does finally go down. Resets come out for Mystic. That's going to be another 2 kills for Calculated Throw. The stagger is real.
So we saw the first fight, they cocooned the Tyrande, and ever since, there's been a change, and they keep cocooning the Zarya. And I think that's because of the shields that she gives, because pretty soon, actually she has it now. She has the extra shields for armor, and she has double shields. So now she can shield 2 members on her team, and that deals with a lot of the burst damage that they're trying to do on the side of Calculated Throw. So choosing to cocoon her and then blow somebody up is a little bit of a better choice than the Tyrande, I feel.
Is it just me, or did that map objective last about 5 levels? It felt like it was forever.
That one was forever, because they had just gotten the ults online almost. Or right after they got their ults when that first one started being decontested.
So we will see the members of Calculated Throw. 5-man push in the top lane. You have Orphea in the bottom lane, so they should be able to get a pretty good shove here. They're looking for keep, but a lot of counter damage, a lot of siege coming in to clear this wave up. Disintegrate goes down. We'll see the slide in from Scooty Puck Jr., but he is taking tower shots. Huge Warlord's challenge, as we do see them trying to zone them away. The expulsion zone going to interrupt that a little bit, and we will see the Riptire coming out, just following people around. Web Wrap goes down. Grievant gets low, but right now the members of Calculated Throw will be satisfied with the front wall and are going to back up. They're also getting a little bit of damage in mid, but once again, pretty good defense here from Team Rectum.
Absolutely. That was a 4v5 defense on that top lane as Orpheo was bottom and mid. I want to point out they dodged a huge bullet, as pushing a wall against a Garrosh is terrifying, as he can just, you know, chuck you right over, and if you don't have your cooldowns or you're not prepared for it and the stun chains are there, you can get blown up. And Alarak actually pulled him closer, and the silence missed. Garrosh accidentally threw a minion, but I think if he gets a hero in that instance, that defense looks a lot different than it did.
Interesting rotation mechanics here. We saw Team Rectum start to rotate up towards that boss, showing on the wave though, almost as if they were trying to convince them that they were going up. What that did is spawn Calculated Throw to rotate to the bottom boss in response. And now the fact that Team Rectum didn't go directly to the boss is going to give them a little bit of a disadvantage. And so if they were trying to manipulate them, it might have backfired there a bit.
Lots of indecision. You saw they were spread out through about, you know, that top right corner of the map, and you know, their boss race isn't the same, but this is a, you know, a couple second advantage, and Calculated Throw still has that fort for defense on their first layer, where this one on the bottom is going straight for a keep.
Yeah, definitely an uneven exchange there in favor of Calculated Throw. And we haven't seen massive advantages, but we've seen them get one little advantage after another. But we do see the toss in onto a Nubarak, still has the burrow charge, and as the 5-man defense is here, the members of Calculated Throw are just going to rotate back, but this map objective is up. They should be able to get this capped before the members of Team Rectum can get here.
Yep, and then like I said, you know, Anubrak gets thrown by the Garrosh, he's forced to use that burrow charge, and you see the whole team at that point decides, you know what, we're done here, and they immediately leave.
Boss in the top lane does manage to get the fort down, but down to about half health, won't get too much done on that bottom keep. Even
big flank coming in.
Ooh, gotta look out here. Mystic gets tossed in, but has the teleport out at the last second there. Web Wrap goes down onto Tyrande, crushing Glass, not quite finding the mark there. Tanner getting very low. He's gonna go down. The resets are in as Garrosh is gonna fall. Huge face melt, and 2 more go down. And Calculated Throw with a huge response there, starting off with a very heads-up dodge there from Mystic.
Yeah, a lot of, you know, props to Mystic for getting that blink out, as that came from absolute left field. But yet again, Alarak actually making a great play there. The swipe was sure a little bit late, but it still saved Li Ming from dying, because when he threw the Li Ming, usually, you know, you throw and you try to get that groundbreaker stun directly after, so there is no form of escape, especially with the blink. And if you time it right, there is no lapse. And Alarak getting the slide mispositioned Garrosh to where his groundbreaker stun didn't land, allowing, you know, the blink out and the immediate turn on that fight.
So we will see a couple members of Calculated Throw down here securing the keep. First keep of the game going over to them. Level 20. They do have the generals marching out here shortly. And this is going to be all 5 members back for defense, though. We'll have to see how Calculated Throw wants to approach this. This is definitely what I would call a win condition for them if they can play it right.
Of course, and these stage dives have all been actually magnificent. Saving it until kind of like the later stages of a fight, you know, when everybody's trying to reposition and kind of fall back a little bit, ETC hitting those stage dives on the backside and getting, you know, 2, 3, 4-man face melts and slides is doing absolute work.
Charge does come in, and once again, Tyrande gonna end up falling here. Maybe a little bit too forward. Maybe getting caught trying to go around to get the heals out, as got caught around that keep, but we will see the silence coming out as Zarya is going to end up falling, and I think this might be it for this set. The Riptire does come down, they get the ETC, but the Death Mosh is going to lock them in place as the core is slowly starting to fall. Both the mid and the bot lanes are coming in. The top keep goes down, and another general is marching in. They are defending here, but is it going to be enough on the core? It's going to fall right at the last second. And that is going to be it. 2-0 for calculated throw.
GG. That was a close call on that finish. The low natural siege damage there starting to show, but nonetheless.
Yeah, they're able to finish it off just barely. Kind of reminiscent of the first one as well with that Dragon Knight. They did finish it off, maybe not quite that close, but difference here is that not permanent damage for the keeps, and I guess our stat screen is a little bit broken here.
I've got mine up.
Odd. Oh well, I guess we'll just we'll go back to the camera scene. No problem there. But yeah, very interesting matchup. Very close between these two teams. I feel like Team Rectum, minus a couple of team fights, definitely could have had either of those games. But you can't take anything away from calculated throw. They executed, they played good macro, and overall they end up with a 2-0 win.
Yeah, and I think they adapted really well in that second game as they kept changing cocoon targets and having different priority engages. Like a couple of times they'd engage, on Garrosh, or a couple of times they would cocoon him and then go backline. So, I mean, good. Yeah, they have good comms. They communicated well, and I think, ultimately that led to the advantage that they had in some of the team fights.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and reach out to Mystic here to see if we can get an interview. You want to go ahead and meet up in one of the lobbies in NGS chat?
Yeah, absolutely. Have one in mind.
Jump on into lobby 1. All right, and we are joined here from Team Captain Mystic. How are you guys feeling after that win?
Pretty good. It's a much better start to our season than last year.
Well, how did you start the season last year?
We were in their position last year.
Aha.
So we know how they're feeling right now. Guys, you put up, I just want to go and say now, they put up a really good fight. That team comp game 2 was super scary. And don't get discouraged. You guys look pretty good. Just keep at it. Looking forward to seeing you the rest of the season.
Well, there you go. So, one thing I did want to ask, speaking of the rest of the season, one thing I did want to ask you guys about, what are your goals kind of going into Season 6? Have you compared with some of the other teams in your division? How do you guys think you're going to do?
We think we have a chance here. We at least half the teams we played last season, some of them made the playoffs. We just barely missed playoffs last season, so we're looking pretty good. Looking forward to our matchups against, the Found Vikings and Bancho and all them from last season. And of course the new faces we have to face, such as B-Train's Winky Face and all that jazz.
Speaking of B-Train, you got any questions for Mystic?
I have 2. So first of all, I would like to know how much begging and pleading and convincing it took for you guys to let Grievant pick Rexar in Game 1.
Well, we immediately did a game with him right after the patch notes came out, and we decided right then and there we were doing it.
Oh wow, very well. We talked about it. We were wondering how much experience you guys had with the new stats, and in that second game, you made me look like a fool. I really believed that you were gonna, pick one of your personal favorites and crow me, and I was really disappointed. You let me down.
I wanted to, but we were discussing it all, and Li Ming, with the comp that we were running, with having them showing so much control, we decided we would need something to back up Alarak a little more than Chromie's kind of spurt damage. Yep. So we went with Li Ming, who could get the steam rolling just in case we needed it.
All jokes aside, what was the big decision? I think your ult was the only one that I really question marked. What was the deciding factor between Disintegrate versus Wave of Force?
Blow up. We just were trying to steamroll through it at that point because Alarak was not getting sadism because they were pretty much focusing him down every team fight. Like, they did everything they could to get Alarak out of that fight and keep him unstacked. So we opted for more damage, and on top of going with Stage Dive, having them already slow just meant I could just pretty much laser right through them, and it ended up working out pretty well.
Detected.
Right on.
Yeah, kind of along the same lines. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on your level 1 talent for Li Ming. You end up going with the extra mana. Any thoughts on the competition between those level 1, especially with the new Aetherwalker? What do you think?
The new Aetherwalker seems fun. In theory, I think, depending on what comp you're against, if you have a like massive front line to deal with where you can just teleport around the whole time and spam Q, you'll probably be alright with it. I took the mana talent purely for the long drawn out team fights we knew we were gonna have.
There you
I
go.
like the orb one on maps like Shrines where you're gonna have orbs all the time, stuff like that.
Yeah, we want that constant poke damage. All right, well,
Yeah.
that's pretty much going to do it for us. Thank you very much for coming in, and if you have any final shout-outs, the floor is yours, Mystic.
Shout out to my team. They showed up tonight. They listened. And so I'm looking forward
It's always
to the
nice
rest of
when
the
they
season.
listen.
Shout outs to Team Rectum. Looking forward to seeing how they progress throughout the year. The first game is always the hardest. We faced Lubu right out the gate last year, and they've jumped all the way up to Div B. So we know the pain. Don't get discouraged, guys. Keep at it. You guys will do fine. And then shout out to you guys for casting. As always, shout out to NGS. It's already been a great season to start. I'm looking forward to the rest of it. It's a great way to stay in shape.
I don't know about that, but one great way to stay in shape also, I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out the fact that Mystic is running a neat little amateur Smash league over there, Calculated Smash. So if you guys are interested in playing in kind of the same kind of thing as NGS, but for Super Smash Brothers, contact Mystic. Is it still open for this new season?
Yeah, it's still open for the inaugural season. So yeah, we definitely have room for more. We're not going to grow too big the first season because you know how it goes. But we definitely got room. So come on over, hit me up if you guys want to. Thanks for the shout out on that, Jason.
Yeah, for sure. I'm actually also playing in that, so I'll be interested to see exactly how much I suck at that game, but I guess we'll find out very soon. All right, well, thanks, Mystic. I guess we'll talk to you next time.
I'll see you in about an hour, Jason.
Oh, that's true, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are gonna be back with the sister team at 8 o'clock for that cast.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, I'll see you guys. I'll see you in a bit. Thanks for the cast, guys.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for the games.
Definitely.
Congrats on the win.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Well, like I said, we're gonna be back in about an hour and 15 minutes with another cast. So don't go too far, ladies and gentlemen. But we are gonna see if we can pass on our cast to anybody else who's casting here in NGS. There's got to be a match out there being casted right now. But before we go, I want to thank B-Train for joining me. If you've got any shout-outs or you want to tell people where to follow you, you go ahead. The floor is yours.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Obviously, first of all, shout out to you for on such short notice getting me here in the cast and getting all the stuff set up on the cast. I know it was a little bit shorter notice than desired, but it all worked out. Shout out to both teams, obviously, for the great games, and I like the picks. I like the spiciness in the draft. So huge shout out. Shout out to NGS, obviously, and we're gonna see what we can do to kind of get Mystic back in check there, talking, we're going to make him feel like they feel in this week 1, but we'll get him later. And as far as following me, btrain704 is my Twitch, and you guys will probably see me around. Other than that, that's all I got.
Yeah, it was definitely fun having you on. Thanks for coming. We'll have to do this again soon.
Oh, of course.
All right, guys. Well, thank you all for stopping in. For NGS, I am Jason. This guy over here is B-Train, and we'll see you guys next time.